Hi everybody, this is Tom Jaszczak doing a short surface demonstration for Pocosin Art School of Fine Craft. So yeah, let's get started. So let me run through some finished pots real quick just to show you what I'm going to be demonstrating. So what I'm going to show is how I get some of this pinstriping, maybe these abstract shapes. These shapes that I cut out on a vinyl cutter. These minimal dots just simply done with stickers. Or you can get this kind of color blocking result. There's a number of tangents you can go with this quick and easy surface demonstration. So to get started, I'm going to use a piece of bisqueware. I have two pieces here to show you a few different options. And for my pots, they are made out of a red clay. And then when they're leather hard, I would dip this into a slip and then bisque fire it. And then my pot would be as it is right now. So what that does is, one, it's easier slip fit to get the slip to stay on my pot, but also it seals the slip on there for this tape and wax surface technique that I'm about to show you. Maybe to even step further into the surface, my pots are soda fired, so you can see the variation of surface. And they're fired to cone 2, so kind of a different temperature, so using red earthenware and then a light colored slip. Alright, so some of the tape and sticky materials I use to resist on my pots are just painter's tape, this contact tape, or contact paper, which you can get at like a fabric store or sometimes at Walmart. It's really just vinyl. Sometimes I just buy stickers. These are smiley face stickers. And then other times I actually draw on the computer and print different things on the computer. It's going to be hard to see the cut lines because they're so fine. Even in person it's really difficult to see the shapes. But basically the computer allows me to make shapes that I couldn't make with the scissors. So to start off, why don't I cut just a few shapes out of tape. I'm going to go through all of these and sort of decorate these pots up and down. So I'm just going to cut little bands. So I'm going to take these little bands of tape and put them on this plate, just like this. And for me, these bits of decoration come from all kinds of sources. You know, things I see on a t-shirt, tattoos, abstract painting or minimal painting, just lots of intuitive source material. So now that I have that tape all stuck on there and pushed on. You want to make sure that it adheres pretty well. Okay, so next up, I'm going to take a little bit of black slip, or you could use black underglaze. I just have black slip because it saves a little bit of money, because underglaze can be expensive, and I use quite a bit. Anyways, coat all that tape with black, and then I'm gonna wipe it all away. So, just wiping all the black off. Now you can see that there's really no trace of black left on this plate. And now I'm going to take some wax. This is just regular water soluble wax. I've added quite a bit of food coloring, as you can see, just because this is so white. I want to be able to see where the wax goes. I also like to water the wax that you buy from a ceramic supply store down by, usually about half, so that makes it a little bit more painterly, and I just don't need it so thick. I'm just gonna brush some wax. So now that I've coated all around that tape, I'm going to peel this off. And so now you can see what that black did is the height of the tape actually left a very fine, thin line that's going to border this plate. And before, the next step is I'm going to fill this in with underglaze, but I have to let this wax set up, so I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to show you another finished pot real quick. So you can see how that little really thin black on that red borders that color. What that does is pop the color and push it into the foreground. So my minimal pots have 3 layers now. This color that's bordered by that black outline, that's in the foreground and is flat and bright. And then the second layer is that slip that I dunked this pot in when it was leather hard. And so that liquid, rich slip is a nice neutral background. And then the rough brick clay that I made the pot out of, and it shows the scrapes and pits. So for me, to make a minimal pot like this interesting, I used that depth of layering. All right, let's jump into a couple other of those taping techniques. So I'm gonna take, just real quick, one of these printed pieces from this label, so you can see, this I could not cut with the scissors. I'm gonna straighten this out a little bit. And peel the other round negative space off. Seal all that in. But you can see, for this shape, I would not be able to cut this stuff out so accurately, or cut that negative space out with the scissors very easily. So I just draw it on the computer and let a vinyl cutter cut that out. It also gives you just a different kind of feeling, it's a tighter image. So again, we're gonna put black all over. So I've coated this with black. Wipe it all away. For this, I'm gonna leave even just a little bit more so it almost has like an airbrushing quality. So just a little bit of black sort of residue. And then again, put the wax on. So I'm gonna paint wax like this, all around those shapes and over the top of them. And I like, sometimes if the wax just sits on there, I'll just kind of brush it down. It's important that you peel these stickers off in, you maybe have like 5 to 10 minutes before they start peeling the wax, because you won't get as clean of a line. So there you go. You can see how sharp of a shape that wax is with the vinyl cutting it out. All right, we're gonna use this side real quick. And I'm just gonna first take a bit of this contact paper and cut out a section of it. So the difference between this and tape really is this has less memory in it. So I can cut out pinstripes. I can also draw right on here, and then just follow those trace those with the scissors. But this contact paper just sort of has some opportunity that the tape doesn't have. So I use all those things. What the tape does better than the contact paper is really it's just faster to use sometimes, just because I don't have to peel the wax backing off. So you can see I can cut a pretty thin strip of this contact paper pretty quickly. So let's cut a few of those. Now I'm going to put these on here. It's going to be hard to, I don't think I'm going to be able to angle this vase so you can see what I'm working on. You just have to trust what's happening, and then I'll show you when I'm done. First I need to peel that wax paper off. So you have that wax paper, set that to the side. It's trash. This pinstriping I'm showing you is a reference to tattoos. I always sort of find minimal tattoos interesting, and where they're placed on the body. It can be beautiful or ugly or just sort of like provocative. And I'm after that same kind of feeling in my work. How can I place these graphics on a pot? Because pots really are relatable to your body, or just those parts, lips, feet, those kinds of parts that pots have. So there, I've pinstriped that. It's hard to see, it's white on white, but I'll put some black on, and then you'll be able to see it better. So again, put the black on, I'm gonna wipe it off. wiping this away. There you go. You can see the pinstripe being better now, and I'm going to put wax on next. I always think of this tattoo reference is most commonly on somebody's forearm or bicep. You know, those armbands. So next, I'm just going to peel these off. And this sharp X-Acto knife, it's made by Dolan. It's just hardened steel, but a cheap X-Acto knife works good too. But it's really nice for picking stickers off paper and also picking them off pots. So there is that. And one last quick one. I'm just going to use these cheapy smiley face stickers. I used to shop for these a lot more, not as much now that I have a vinyl cutter, but I used to look at drugstores and Walmart or grocery stores to just find stickers and see if there's new shapes that I wanted to work with on pots. You know. Anyways, there's a quick crooked, some crooked circles. Again, black on, black off, just like Mr. Miyagi says. Now, put some wax on, wax off, just like Mr. Miyagi says. All right, like that, pluck those off. As far as the kind of sticky things to use, you know, generally something that's similar to painter's tape works well because it's sticky enough that it will stick to bisqueware that's has absorption, but not so sticky like duct tape that it will rip your bisqueware apart, and not tacky enough like a Post-it note that it wouldn't stick to it. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of maybe what to try and what to not try when you're finding your own sticky materials. All right, let's go back to this. So the reason why we waited was we needed this wax to set up, because if you put the color on there right away, it won't resist and push the color into where the tape was, which is the whole idea of this technique. Sometimes you can see a little bit of wax might sneak under the tape, and sometimes I just take this sharp knife and I'll just scrape that wax down, and then the color will go there. But basically all I'm doing is scratching the slip off. All right, so now this can be filled in with any sort of underglaze or slips or, you know, you name it, glaze. I'm going to use this red velvet underglaze. I use a number of different velvet underglazes and mix them. I just use red today because it's the easiest to see, and since we're using a video camera, I just want your eyes to be able to tell what's going on. But the great thing about underglaze is I always call it sort of the acrylic paint of ceramics, that it's the closest thing in ceramics to what you see is what you get. And so as far as, you know, sort of doing painterly things on pots, this allows you to sort of imagine what this is going to look like while you're doing it. So let's put some of this red on here. You can see how, because of that wax, pooling in to where, and there'll be these little dots, little specks of color, and I'll just wash those away. And to get a nice flat color, I like to paint a few coats or just let it sort of pool in there. But you can see how it's pretty flat red. That's just because this is a thin line. I let that pool in there and get a thick coat of that. I'll do this vase real quick, just fill in all these with the red also. But a lot of times in my own work, I would maybe paint this red and paint that circle gray or another color. I'm often playing with sort of color theory ideas with these shapes as well. Here I'm going to try to get that kind of 3-coat application, because for me, I don't want this to look brushed on for my own work. I just want it to have a nice flat color. In art, there's always a balance of static, like a brush stroke or a drip mark, and controlling that is important to conveying what you want. So there you go. You can see how nice and sharp that resisting is. All right, I'll do this pinstriping in circles real quick, and then and again, if I didn't wait that 5 or 10 minutes to let the wax set up, it just wouldn't be resisting this easy. It would kind of be blurry. So that little bit of curing is really important. There you have it. The nice clean pinstriping. And so again, when those, when that got fired, that white slip would change into this kind of rich varying slip, and then that flat red would be flat red. One of the reasons I like to show this techniques to students is that this doesn't just apply to soda fired slipware work. You can use this technique on glazed ware, using glazes and slips. Think about just all different ways you can layer tape and wax, or when you add latex in there, which you could peel off. Think about dipping a pot in glaze without tape on it, then putting tape on, then putting another glaze, peeling the tape off, or putting tape on, dipping a pot in glaze, putting wax on, peeling the tape off. Now you put another glaze or slip, then you could have all these different kinds of layering. And so that's why I really enjoy showing this technique to students. Well, that wraps up my surface decoration. Thank you.